Hi guys, welcome back to Murder in Retrograde. Today we are going to just give you some updates. So let's just dive into this week's case.
I'm Brittany Sheffrin,
I'm Jenna Kaplan.
and this is Murder in Retrograde. Welcome, everybody. We have a lot of updates, but first, let me just give you a few tiny updates. So I don't even know if you know some of these, Jenna. They might be new to you. If anyone has listened to the amazing podcast called Your Own Backyard by Chris Lambert, it was about the murder of Kristin Smart, well, the disappearance of Kristin Smart in San Luis Obispo, California. And this guy started a podcast
It's so
because
good.
it's been a cold case for 25 years, but they've always had a suspect, or sorry, a person of interest, but they've never searched that person's house. Well, all because of this podcast, more information came out and they got search warrants, and they began digging at the Flora's house a few days ago at both
I have chills.
the
I have chills.
person of interest and his mother's house, which is where during the podcast you learn they're pretty sure that there's evidence there, and it's a car specifically. So they did end up taking a car, and it was dusty, had cobwebs. It was an old Jetta or cabriolet, and I'm pretty sure that's the car that they had been looking for, and they thought something might have happened in that car, and it's just been hiding in the mom's house. And they also did some digging. However, the San Luis Obispo County Sheriff's Office tweeted on March 16th that the service of a search warrant was concluded at the Arroyo Grande home of the father of former student Paul Flores, who has long been under investigation in the case but has never been arrested or charged. So, they haven't said what they found, obviously. The case is open, and I'm sure that they're working around the clock. And as soon as we get more information, we'll let you know. But it's pretty impressive, right? All because of this podcast. This one guy making a podcast, which was another reason that Jenna and I were like, let's do it. Maybe we can make a difference, you know?
Yeah.
That would be a dream come true, to be able to help in such a way of bringing closure to this family that has just been through the ringer.
It just brought a lot of eyes to it too. Like we are somewhat local. I mean, we're not far from San Luis Obispo, and I had never heard of it. And I was obsessed with that podcast. He did such a good job covering all of his bases, like really digging in places and pushing the right people. And I think this is amazing. And I bet you they're going to find something in that car, because that was like one of the bigger parts of it was that they were never
Yeah.
able to get their hands on it. That's, oh man, I literally got chills while you were saying that, because I was a big fan of that podcast. And
Yeah. He was impressive,
holy,
and he actually went to school with her. He didn't know Kristin personally, but he went to school with her, and I think it's awesome, because the only thing I knew of it was the billboard, because there's always this billboard up and slow and that's had her picture on it for so long, and it's just like, gosh, they still haven't found her. It's like gut-wrenching every time you drive past it, but there's lots of new development, so we'll bring you whatever we hear. And then the Theranos creator, do you remember this woman, Jenna? Elizabeth Holmes. Did you watch? Well, it was also a podcast, the name of which is escaping me, but she was the woman who said that she created this blood test that would eliminate labs, and it was also an HBO documentary. No, you don't know anything about it. She
mm-mm.
defrauded people out of millions and millions of dollars because it was all a crock. Like there was no science behind it. It wasn't real, but she got crazy funding in, kind of a whirlwind Silicon Valley type of way. So she's has been I don't know if she's been at home, but she was arrested and she's awaiting trial, but conveniently she got pregnant.
Oof.
So
So she has to be
they're
at home.
so her defense attorney immediately asked for a 7-week postponement and was granted it. So now her trial will start in August 2021. But it's heartbreaking because there's people that gave their life savings and thought that they were going to make so much money. People lost everything because of this woman.
Oh, I can't
And
believe I
she's
don't know
still,
about it.
yeah, there's a great documentary and podcast. What is it called? I can't remember, sorry.
No, it's all good. I'm that's interesting. And the whole pregnancy thing, there was something else I remember hearing during like a few months ago. There was like a couple, I think, that like faked an ultrasound, kind of the same thing that they're both I don't know what their situation was, but I remember saying that they faked an ultrasound and like gave it to the judge, and then all of a sudden they found out she was full of shit.
Wow.
People, I mean, I don't know, dude. It's like, what prevents people from just keep having babies so they don't have to go back to jail? It's
That's
crazy.
true. They probably take them away and don't let them have any visits.
Oh, anyway, so our first kind of not oh yeah, major update was with Armie Hammer. We did an episode on YouTube. And really quick, so I think it was like a week ago, the Vanity Fair article had come out about this. If you haven't been following this case as closely as like we have, it's a great article then, because it really does lay out kind of the family history and like why it's important and how it relates to him as a person, and what he's been accused of. And so it was good for me and Brittany, who have I'm halfway through his aunt's book. I've read everything I can find about it. It was nothing new. But there was one newer thing that came out on I don't remember the day. It was like again, probably like a week ago, like right when this came out.
Yeah, something like that.
The main girl who has been sharing on Instagram and kind of started this movement, if you will, about people coming forward. She is now alleging that, well, let me just read it. So on April 24th, 2017, she says that Armie Hammer violently raped her for over 4 hours in Los Angeles, during which he repeatedly slapped my head against a wall, bruising my face. He also committed other acts of violence against me to which I do not consent. She added that he would beat her feet with a crop so that they would hurt for the next week with every step she took. And she says that she tried to get away, but he wouldn't let me. I thought he was going to kill me, she says. So these are the newest allegations to come out.
Really quick, what is a crop?
You know what? I can't think of what it would. I'm thinking of something like it'd be like the
Like
same
a
like Twitch.
switch?
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the only thing I can
Yeah.
like relate it to. And then you're like hitting them, so that's open sores. So when you're walking, it's
But you've heard that word before, using a crop?
no, but I know that I mean,
Yeah.
I assume that's what it is.
Okay. Just curious. This was the first woman to come out. I saw her TikTok. So House of Effie is her handle. And yeah, she was the one, right, that put out the first DMs about him showing about the cannibalism and all of that.
And it's interesting too because during that time on Instagram, I've never seen anything on TikTok because I don't really go on there. But Instagram, she had said, and we had talked about this, something like something really bad's coming, like I'm shaking, like this kind of stuff. And I thought she was alluding to what was it? We thought New York Times was going to come out with something, and then it
Yeah.
never did. So I don't know what happened there, but I'm wondering if this was part of what was supposed to come out, and maybe his lawyers put a kibosh on it. I don't know. The
Yeah.
LAPD has confirmed that Hammer is currently a suspect in a sexual assault investigation. So this has at least moved things in a direction of an investigation, because before it didn't seem like anything was happening.
Right.
So I don't know. And in a statement from Hammer's lawyer, Andrew Brettel, he denied Effie's claims, saying, quote, "From day one, Mr. Hammer has maintained that all of his interactions with Effie and every other sexual partner of his, for that matter, have been completely consensual, discussed, and agreed upon in advance and mutually participatory." So yeah, so that's what his lawyer said. And then we still had only had the one comment from his estranged wife, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
And I don't know how accurate this is, because it says a source told Entertainment Tonight that, quote, Elizabeth is horrified to hear the most recent allegations against Armie. Her number one priority is her kids, and she wants to make sure that their children feel loved and are taken care of during this time. I don't know if that's actually from her, but that's what Entertainment Tonight is saying, but this case is it's not over. That's for sure. I'm just happy that they're investigating him at least. And I just hope this isn't something that we've seen with his family's history where money's thrown at the situation and it goes away.
I'm hoping that the last 2 years and everyone that's been taken down, that he won't be able to do that,
Right.
but, you don't know, his money runs so deep,
Oh, I know.
and his name and all of that, because there's so much more than just him. There's art galleries, museums, buildings at colleges with the Hammer name on it, so it's very interesting. It does feel like the veil is being lifted, like everyone said in astrology, and everyone is
Mm,
being revealed for who they truly are. And I just hope it sticks,
yeah.
that this keeps happening. I don't, it's so hard because I do not agree with cancel culture. I
Yeah.
think it's
Same.
so detrimental,
Yeah.
but I think people who have committed crimes
Yeah. Need to be held accountable.
deserve justice. And that's where it is for me. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, it's such a
I
fine line.
100% agree with you because cancel culture, I think, I'm the same. I don't believe in it. I think it does more harm than good, and I don't see the
Absolutely.
point of it.
It's a terrible thing to teach our children that
Yeah,
nobody can change. You
yeah,
make one mistake, you're done.
yeah. We're humans, we're ever evolving, and we need to like have some grace for each other. And people, like you said, if you commit a crime, then you're gonna hopefully get the punishment for it, or
Yeah.
so anyway,
Crazy things,
mo-
crazy things.
moving along. What else do you got for us?
So, our first episode of Murder in Retrograde covered the Delphi murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. So, I'm really excited because there hasn't been much talk from police or any info coming out from them. So, it seems like it's picked up in the media, though. And luckily, People Magazine has done an episode with their People Magazine Investigates. It's always on
Mm.
ID, I think, correct? It's usually on ID. If not, just check your on demand. It's a special, and it's called The Delphi Killer, and it begins streaming Monday, April 12th. Oh, it's going to be on ID at 10 p.m.
I was gonna say, it might be
The,
on Discovery ID though, because I just saw an alert. Not that that's important. Check your local listings and figure it out, but check there too, because I think that
yeah,
that's part of they want to bring newer stuff there. But anyways,
right. Yeah, I'm just really glad. I don't know that they'll be able to get any more information, but doesn't matter. It'll reach a wider audience,
hmm
and my gosh, I'm telling you, like I think about this case constantly.
you and me both. There are nights I have. Okay, I've told you this before. I have a list in my notes of who I think it is and all the reasons why, and I'm constantly trying to figure out how can I prove this.
I know, I know.
It's
It's
insane.
yeah. It's been 4 years since the murders and no further information has been released. And I'm on the Reddit sites and in all of the
Same,
groups, and constantly, like, I get them sent to my email every time somebody posts
same.
something. And it has heated up lately. Like, there have been a lot more people who have said, "Hey, just heard about this case," or get and everybody seems to say, like, I think I know who did it, which isn't typical of a true crime thing. Like, usually people don't think so, but like, they always come up and they're like, "Has everybody been checked that was there that day?" And it's like, "Oh, thanks, Captain Obvious, now we can solve it." But anyway, so whatever, the more that people hear about it, the better.
Absolutely.
uh but especially since they keep saying, police have said, like, he's hiding in plain sight,
Mhm,
that feels like they have an idea of
mhm,
who it
and they
is.
just
Like,
need them to mess up or something.
yeah, why else would you say you're hiding in plain sight? Like, that, what is the
I
meaning
also
behind
think
that?
too, it's like a small town, so who else could it be? I feel like a stranger would have been noticed so
Yeah.
easily that they're maybe that's just it could be something based simply like that, or they know or they think they know who it is, and they're just trying to flush them out.
Yeah. Whew. So, anyway, as I was looking for this update, I actually found another story that happened in Carroll County, and this is commonly referred to as the Flora fire. And it occurred just 3 months before Abby and Libby were murdered in November of 2016. A fire occurred in the middle of the night, and this woman named Galen Rose lost all four of her daughters in the fire. She was the only one to get it out. And as they checked, they started to find an accelerant, and they haven't said what it was. So it was 100% arson. And at first, it seemed like the fire department was not being completely transparent, because they were saying, oh, no, no, it was an electrical fire. And it was like going back and forth. It happened in a very poor part of town. The whole family was African American. And I can't help but think that there's just, they didn't give this mother enough information. And she's desperately been trying to get more information. And they've just been keeping things from this family. And it's
Well,
so
forgive me for
unfair.
asking because I have no idea anything about it, but is she not a suspect at all? Is that maybe why they would be keeping things
They
from her? Because she's the only person to survive?
originally at the beginning, yes, and
Yeah.
until they investigated everybody, but they don't think she had anything to do with it. And the people, she is now, I believe, suing the owners because she was renting, and they had
Mm.
smoke alarms in the kitchen, like in every room. No batteries.
Mm.
No batteries.
Mm.
So all of these little girls should have lived, could have lived,
Mm.
if they simply had. And how cruel and awful of a human being can you be?
No,
It's
that's
like,
terrible.
cut corners as a landlord, fine, but I mean, it's so sad. And even that she doesn't have money to hire an attorney to go after this landlord, and she's received no information about why this happened. And so then there was a lot of weird things that happened with the fire department. For example, the chief resigned on the year anniversary of when this fire happened. And interestingly, his father, Dennis Randall, was the fire investigator for the Indiana Department of Homeland Security. He was
Hmm.
also in charge of the Flora fire investigation when he resigned last June. So they've both walked away from this fire department since this happened. And there's lots of theories out there, nothing that has any um, corroboration or anything that I will, felt like was good to share here. And I don't know that these men had anything to do with it, but it
Very
sounds,
coincidental.
yeah, it sounds strange.
Well, we might have to do a
Um,
full episode on this and dig a little deeper. I've never heard of it. That's sad.
yeah, it needs more attention because this mother and her aunt, and you can see interviews of them online. It's heart-wrenching. They deserve answers.
Mm, that's terrible. Kind of speaking of a family who needs answers. This is like this has been one that's been haunting me lately. So we did
Yeah.
this episode on episode 19 for Maya May Millette. Her name's Maya. She sometimes go by May. So we did a full episode on this. She went missing 10 weeks ago, and police have done just the one press conference kind of right when everything happened, and then nothing. And as far as we can tell, it hasn't been turned over to homicide at all. Um, it's so frustrating because also, okay, when we first covered it, we were trying to give the benefit of the doubt, right? Because like just because her and her husband had an argument doesn't necessarily mean he had anything to do with it. But as we've gone on and time has gone on longer, his behaviors, as the more you look back on it and kind of how what's happened since then, it's not looking good. I mean, he literally said she was locked in her room and then no one was hearing from her. And then all of a sudden, I think it was like 2 days later, they finally filed a missing persons report, giving him allegedly, if he had anything to do with this, ample time to clean up, dispose, whatever. On the day that everyone suspects things might have gone down, he left his two older girls, which I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, were like under 11. I would say like 11 and 9 or something. Left them at home alone to do their schoolwork, took their 4-year-old to the beach for like 8 hours, but left his phone at home.
Oh no.
So that in itself is suspect, right? So every weekend since this has been going on, there have been searches. Like, I'm actually so impressed by the local community. Like, I wish I could go down there. I've been every time they post, I'm like, okay, maybe I can make this work. Cause like I feel so invested. I know it sounds so crazy, but so every weekend there's a search. There's a group called, I think it's called Maya Millette Search Warriors on Facebook, and you can go on there and if you are in the area, follow it and go if you can or do anything to help. But two kind of updates on this. There was a quote that I just read in an article from Maya's brother-in-law, so her sister's husband, and it says, "We will find answers eventually. We just have to keep doing what we're doing, keep that pressure on the police department to keep moving forward. Don't let it become a cold case. We are not going to allow that. We are going to get answers." I really think that they need to start like petitioning in front of their office and say either do more or pass it over to homicide. Nobody goes missing. A mother of 3 does not go missing for almost 3 months. Like,
Yeah,
something has
what are they
happened to
waiting
her.
for?
Something has happened to her. And then um so in one of the so I'm in a couple of groups because again I'm following this case. I have like literally Google updates on her. I'm obsessed. Like, I just want them to find her.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I think it always comes down to like moms too, like if kids like it just, I can't even imagine. But
Just really quick, is he has custody of the kids right now?
he's still with the kids. He's taken time off of work is what it sounds like. And crazy enough. So I I was on Google Maps and was like seeing where around where their house is and like where he works, and it's just up the 5, but there's so many places that I hope that they're searching kind of between there, because like you and I have talked about this, people if people do anything like this, like possibly dumping a body or whatever, they're going to do it in areas they're familiar with, and it's
Yeah.
not far from the beach, so he could have easily went down a familiar path where he knew maybe the traffic wasn't going to be there or whatever, or people disposed of something allegedly and then went to the beach, so that all the 4-year-old knows is we went to the beach, right? Because at 4 years old you don't know that dad stopped and
Yeah.
whatever. And again, none of this is all suspect. I mean, he for a fact has said he was gone and all that, but I mean, what could have happened during that time? We don't know.
It's just so interesting to me because I have to believe that the police would take those kids if he was
And
a
he hasn't gone
suspect.
on any searches, not one, not any searches. He has lawyered up, which is fine. I don't judge people by that by any means, but
Yeah.
it all put together, it doesn't look good.
Do
And
you know if he's allowing the kids to see her sister?
it doesn't sound like it. Like when this first happened, um I think, or I'll have to get back to you because I feel like now that I'm thinking about it, maybe the sister, so Maya's sister, I think has seen them, but then again, I don't think so. No, I think they had one visit kind of a couple weeks after this all happened, and it was kind of weird. And then I don't believe they've seen them since then. I don't think he has any contact with them. I think he's kind of just hiding.
You know what I mean? Like you'd think the police would be worried, would
You
like
would
first
think.
priority.
You would think. You would think. So this was, I'm going to read like a quote, I guess. It's a post from Facebook, and I thought it was interesting and hopeful. But it says, "I just wanted to update everyone on a search for Maya. We had another great turnout. I'm exhausted, blah, blah. I'm just gonna skip that part. She says, the sheriff came out to meet them because something was discovered by one of their search groups. They're investigating it, so she's not going to say what it is, although news gave a little insight to what it is after speaking to someone at search. I don't know what that means. So maybe there was something that was found and it could be connected, and there was context to why it could be connected. I'm not really sure what she means by that. And then she just goes on to say, please continue praying for the searchers and her family and Maya, and all that stuff.
Wow.
So I'm hoping they did find something that's connected and there will be some news soon, but we don't know. It's so heartbreaking. It just it
And you
hurts.
said they announce on Facebook when they're having searches?
Yeah, so they're on Facebook. There's a group called Maya Millette Search Warriors, and that they post every week about the either the Saturday or the Sunday that they're going to be searching. And they have a
Mhm.
they've had one every single weekend since this
Oh,
all
wow.
happened. It's been, I mean, it's been pretty amazing to see and it's crazy because I think there's like a group of like 5 women that kind of admin it, and I don't think any of them knew her. It's just like complete strangers coming
Mhm.
together. It's amazing. Oh, when this I would say like a month ago, they did go to Glamis because they
Right.
frequented it there and did a search. It was over holiday weekend, maybe President's Day weekend or whatever.
Yeah.
And they were searching and searching, and some guy, like Good Samaritan, happened to own a freaking plane or helicopter or something and flew the sister and the brother-in-law like around Glamis to see if they could see anything because you can obviously out the bird's eye view see more clearly maybe but
Yeah.
nothing that we've heard of has come from that. But I just feel like it's amazing to see the community kind of come together and help and support and all that kind of stuff.
Have you spent much time in Glamis?
Mm-mm.
No, me neither. I just wonder, like, I know it's sand dunes, but like, could you dig a hole in those sand dunes? They're like huge mountains.
I'm sure you could, but I think,
I don't know. I don't remember hearing about people being found there or anything like that, but
well, the other thing somebody was pointing out, it's like, think about where we live, like how how close it is. Like it's a 4-hour drive to Las Vegas, right? But before you get to
Mhm.
Vegas, you're in the flippin' desert. Like
Yeah.
you will never find someone in something like that, right? And he doesn't have he was actually smart and didn't take his freaking phone. The only
Yeah.
hope I have is like, or they probably would have known by now, but if they, I would imagine cars have like GPS in them, right? Like, can't they take that out and like the black box or whatever it's called
If the
and
car has GPS, but not every car has a navigation system. You know, like older cars don't have that.
yeah.
And not even older. I'm sure they have make cars now that don't have
I'm
it.
infuriated by the whole thing. It's so
I
sad.
know. I know.
So stay
So,
tuned.
moving right along to a news story that I have been following just like you with the Maya. I'm obsessed. This makes no sense to me. So, this is the story of a 41-year-old former flight attendant. Her name is Sarm Heslop. And I apologize if I'm not saying that correctly, but Sarm is the way it's spelled. Um, Anyway, she had been hanging out in the British Virgin Islands with her boyfriend. His name is Ryan Bain, and he has his very own personal 47-foot yacht. And so she somehow got hooked up with him. They started dating, and she would take people out on tours on his yacht and show them around. So she was living on this yacht with her boyfriend at the time. And his story is that the couple went out to dinner at a restaurant and they left around 10 p.m. and returned to the yacht, and they went to bed. Oh, sorry. They left the restaurant, returned home, went to bed around 10 p.m. So this was on March 7th. And Ryan says he woke up around 2 a.m. and he found Sarm to be gone, but her cell phone, purse, passport, and shoes were all left behind. This is a woman who takes people out on tours of the islands for roughly $7,000 a week. It's like, hello, we love below deck. We know that type
I was
of
just,
lifestyle.
yeah, I was gonna ask you, do you know if the yacht was docked when this all happened, or are they like out at sea?
So they were actually docked at, he was, yes, so they were anchored 120 feet from a very secluded area called Frank Bay.
Mhm.
But I mean, if you look at it, it just looks like Laguna Beach. It's just like a small little cove. It's beautiful, but only 120 feet from land. So that's not that far to swim, right? If you're a really good swimmer.
Right? Is she a really good swimmer?
Yeah, I mean, she's on these boats all the time. This is like her lifestyle. I would assume that she
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
So it's all very strange. So they questioned the boyfriend, and then he immediately lawyered up, and they came to search the yacht, and he said no, he refused. And he's now refusing to speak to them, and he's refusing to allow them to get on the yacht. And it's getting a bit contentious. Her family obviously is very concerned and very scared. He when he initially called the Coast Guard at the San Juan station, he said his girlfriend may have fallen from the yacht, and that's weird to me. I would say my girlfriend's gone. I just woke up
Yeah.
and she's gone. I guess I don't know the extent of the call. Maybe it was later on, like maybe she fell, but
Yeah.
that was from the beginning. It was has our boyfriend says she fell. And I don't know why you would even say something like that. So anyway, this was a luxury like catamaran yacht. It's called a Leopard 4700, and like I said, it was moored off the coast of St. John and in the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Hmm.
They had a dinghy attached to it, and it was tied to the catamaran and hadn't been
Used.
tampered with, touched, anything. And then the Coast Guard reported that the conditions were excellent that day and that night as far as visibility, sea state, waters were super calm. And the Coast Guard immediately started searching, no signs of anybody in the water. And they said like it was a easy day to search. They
So
would have
wait,
seen something.
when the Coast Guards, he called the Coast Guards, right? They come
Hmm.
and then did they search the yacht?
So
You
I don't
don't know.
remember if it was the Coast Guard or the authorities. I believe it was when the detectives got involved and they came to search the yacht.
Got it.
Um, I don't know anything about boats, so I
Yeah.
don't know about what's it called? Maritime law. Like they have
Yeah.
totally different law.
Right.
Um, anyhow, this guy, apparently a few friends have said they were deeply in love, and you can find tons of pictures on her Instagram, and she looks like she's very happy, and they're in
Oh.
all over the place on different islands. I know social media means nothing, means
Social
absolutely
media is
nothing.
bullshit, but
Yeah. But so and who knows? I mean, I can't find that much information about her other than she used to be a flight attendant. She's from the UK, and she had been living down in the Virgin Islands since the beginning of 2020, which makes me
Mm,
think, the coronavirus hit, and then no flights were going anywhere. She was a flight attendant, so she was probably thinking, how am I going to make money? And she had this talent, or
yeah.
not talent,
Passion.
what is it?
Passion.
Yeah, I guess it seems like a passion. Anyhow, she is 5'7". She's Caucasian, slim. She has a tattoo on her left shoulder. If you know anything, if you've seen anything, call the U.S. Coast Guard because
This
they
is
they don't have any information. And then right before we started recording, I got a Google alert because I could only imagine what our Google alerts look
oh my.
like. But I haven't had a chance to research it. But the title of the Daily Mail article is American boyfriend of missing Sarm Heslop is seen in a 2011 mugshot after attacking his ex-wife by throwing her head to the ground and smashing her head into the floor because she asked him for directions.
So he's a freaking oh my gosh.
He's
That
40.
that puts a whole new spin and light on this. Oh
I
my
can't
gosh.
believe it took that long for it to come out because she's been missing since March 7th. He spent 21 days in jail for attacking his then wife, Corey Stevenson, in their house in Michigan in 2011.
I think there's just so much going on right now. I think things are getting clogged up a little bit. There's
Yeah.
literally so much crime. It's scary.
Yeah.
We'll have to keep
So,
our thumb on the pulse of that one for sure. And
yeah.
speaking of social media, kind of
Yeah.
just brings us right into the next one.
Mhm.
So episode 16, we covered the case of Alexis Sharkey. No, there's no necessarily new news. I think we had already kind of updated that her cause of death came out as strangulation
Strangulation.
and homicide, but it's been silent since then. The only update I have is more of a Houston update. It is the fact that a longtime veteran of the Houston Police Department is taking over because the current chief is moving to Miami. So we have a new chief
Mm.
of police coming in, and he sounds like he's qualified. And it's kind of shitty because the guy that's leaving was, I should have written it down, but he was something like, yeah, welcome to almost 500 murders or something like that. And I was like, what? So I Googled it,
Whoa.
and it says across the city of Houston, 400 people were murdered as of December 2020. And that's a spike of at least 42% over 2019. And then it kind of goes through the past couple years. But I just thought, and I wonder if that's why he's
Wow.
leaving. Like, oh my God, get me out of here because it's just too much. He's
I
going
have
to a
heard that
smaller.
Houston is getting, I mean, countries, cities across our country are just falling into ruins, and
Mhm.
there's a bazillion reasons why, but that is horrifying. 400 murders in
It's really
Houston?
scary. Yeah, really scary. And so the thought is, when new police chiefs or new DAs or whoever, come in, they kind of want to make a name for themselves. And so you
Right.
hope that maybe he'll look at this case and get things moving. I would assume, and it's kind of shitty to say it like this, but I think in that situation, you're going to prioritize the more well-known ones before and kind of work your way down.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Hopefully, that means more news will come of her because it's kind of crazy that whether they have toxicology, we don't know because nothing's been released.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
That's what I'm interested to see. And
Same.
it's been well over 6 to 8 weeks and they haven't released tox results. So there's got to be something in there that's part of the case.
I mean, it could be so many things too. Is it backed up? Because like we said, there's so much going on right
Right.
now.
Yeah.
Or do they have it and they're just not releasing it due to building a case? We don't know.
Yeah.
So
All right. Well, we will keep looking at that one. And then moving on to episode 8, we covered the Breonna Taylor case. It has been officially 1 year since Breonna Taylor was
crazy.
murdered by police officers in Kentucky. Her boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, sat down to speak with Gayle King, and it was an amazing interview. If you can watch it, please do. Thank goodness all of the charges against him have been dropped. I don't know why it took so long, but they
Yeah.
have been. And then my beloved Megan the Stallion, you know how much I love her. She gave $100,000 to Brianna's family and their fund for attorney's fees. And she continues to say her name. She continues to bring it up. And she's like making it big. She's a
Yeah.
young girl in her 20s, giving her own money away. Like, oh,
Yeah,
I
it's
just
really
love
good.
her. And I think
Yeah.
it's amazing. And I hope people continue to talk about her because Brianna, it's not just Brianna. There's an army of Black
Mm.
women behind her who have suffered the same fate. And it's
It's just,
enough.
yeah, it's so sad. That case like guts me because
Yeah.
literally to be sleeping and basically murdered, like I can't.
No,
And by the
no.
people that you think are supposed to protect you, but I mean, I don't even want to go there because you and I will just go off.
Oh,
So,
yeah. And last October, the Louisville Police Department was pressured to release a heavily redacted audio recording of the grand jury testimony. And this was when they were being pressured to be more transparent with the public because keep in mind, there's a recall going on of the Attorney General, Daniel Cameron. So last October, the Louisville Police Department was pressured to release a heavily redacted audio recording of the grand jury testimony. And they hemmed and hawed and said no, 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 but they were eventually forced to release it. And it is, like I said, heavily redacted, but the stuff that they have in there, it drives you crazy. The stuff that they didn't tell the grand jury and the way that they made it look, it's so
mhm.
skewed. There's stuff in there that said that they thought that Breonna Taylor had a rifle and that she was in a stance laying down in that hallway with a rifle. And oh yeah, they have all kinds of just absolutely ludicrous things that they presented to a grand jury who had no idea that it was Breonna, that it was all of, you know, the entire, they didn't have the entire story. And for that reason, her family wants the grand jury to be done over again. And
Yeah.
gosh, I just hope that that happens, because this case can't just go away. They have to keep moving with it, because I think it can make some real headway and then become precedents for further cases down the line, because unfortunately, I don't think she's going to be the last woman that is murdered
No.
this way in this country.
Yeah, yeah, I agree, and I know that we did another update before this on this case that kind of talked more about some of the quotes from the grand jury, just kind of going over more of like what they didn't weren't was what wasn't given to them. So you'd have to go back and look at whatever episode that was, but we did kind of get into that too. But this case
Yeah.
just keeps. I'm glad it's still in the news, and I'm glad it's still being talked about, and I'm glad to see that freaking Daniel Cameron is trying to get recalled because he's a piece of shit.
Yeah, and it's so awful because he's like doubling down and saying
Oh
that
yeah,
he's a great attorney general, and oh, it's just like
do
so
your
awful.
job. How about that? Do your job. Present all evidence, not just to fit your
Yeah.
narrative. That's what's so
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Infuriates me.
So, on to not necessarily a lighter subject, but a different subject. My
Uh,
birthday was this month,
ooh,
and
Pisces.
I went up to LA, and of course, I forced my husband to drive me past
Please
the
just
Cecil
tell that
Hotel.
story really quick.
So my husband
Ah.
does not like true crime, is not into it, thinks that I'm crazy, is terrified that he's going to disappear one day. So, we just don't talk about it. And we went out to dinner, and he's like, "What else do you want to do?" And I was like, "Well, I would really like to drive by this hotel if you don't mind." And he's like, "Why don't we walk?" I was like, "Yeah, we probably shouldn't walk because it's Skid Row, but we can drive." And so we're driving around, and finally we turn the corner. And first of all, you can just feel the energy everywhere. But this time, it's usually you can't see anybody there. There was at least 50 people in the street. They had flashlights, and they were like turning the flashlights on the sign, and there were two police officers at the doors facing out to make sure nobody tried to enter, and people were playing scary music.
They're all
And
doing
then
TikToks in front of the
yeah.
That's me.
Exactly. And then all the way around it is tent city. I mean, the homelessness is out of control in all of California, but
Yeah.
LA especially. So that it goes all the way up to the Cecil Hotel at this point. But it's interesting. There's lots more energy there. There's people there apparently all the time after, since this is aired on
Yeah.
Netflix. People are going down there all of the time. And I think that since Ron Howard and Brian Grazer are the ones that did the Netflix special,
I didn't
and
know
I
that.
I seem to remember somebody like that wanted to buy it, the Cecil Hotel. Somebody like Ron Howard who wanted to keep the history of it and that sort of thing. So I'll look into that and see if, because it wouldn't surprise me if they made this documentary and then they were going to redo the hotel, and
Well, I told you
like
that's like my dream for them to do with that hotel. Just embrace it. Just embrace the craziness of it and just make it, like you said, a Queen Mary type of vibe, but for the hotel. And also kind of on this note, if anyone has Sirius FM and you listen to Jeff Lewis, who is one of my faves, he has an interview you have to go listen to. If you don't even like him, fine, but still go listen to it. He interviews this guy, Pete. His last name starts with a W. I can't think of it. What he's like a famous TikToker, or I don't know, famous, but he's TikTok. He's got lots of followings and stuff. And he lives across the street, and he
yeah.
has all these crazy stories of, and I also on TikTok again, I haven't seen them, but he shows all kinds of crazy stuff that happens, like paranormal. And he said once the documentary was out, that's when police started showing up. But you have to just go listen to his account of it because it's crazy.
Yeah, and do yourself
Ugh.
a favor and just listen to Jeff Lewis live,
Oh,
because
love him.
I never miss it.
No,
But
same.
if anybody in Hollywood were to do something like
Oh, yeah.
that could work, it would be Ron Howard and Brian Grazer. Like, they could make it kind of like a Universal Studios vibe,
Mm.
you know?
Ugh.
Like rides or whatever, tours,
It's a
ghost
historical
tours.
landmark, though, so I don't think you can add rides to it. I think
Well,
there's
not
lots of
rides.
rules that will go along with it.
Plus, that blonde lady probably still works there, right?
Oh
It's
my
her
goodness.
favorite job
Oh,
ever.
no.
It's a fabulous place to work.
Oh my god. I hope. That's my wish for that place. Embrace the crazy, and then I will never get in that elevator, but I will visit. Either way, when it opens, I
Yeah.
just wanna go look at the lobby. That's like my want.
The elevator. Ooh,
Nope.
spooky.
Nope, nope, nope. No, thank you.
Okay, well, that's it for all of our updates so far. If there are any cases that anybody is interested in or wants a follow up on, please email us or write us in the comments. We've been listening to all of our comments. We totally appreciate it.
Mhm.
And we want to give everyone what they want to hear. So
Yeah,
please.
do it and subscribe so you don't miss an episode or an update. And make sure you follow us on Instagram. Go to our website, murderinretrograde.com. Lots of places to follow. And I'm going to say it and I'm going to put it out there because then it holds us accountable. We will be
Oh,
on
no.
TikTok sooner
Oh,
than later.
no, we
What do you
will.
think
We
I was going
will.
to do?
I don't
No.
know, because you do put pressure on. And I'm like, water sign, water sign. I don't want a deadline. You're like, deadline, 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 earth sign.
We will be TikToking at some point. We just gotta.
We will.
I feel like we're a little bit past the line of people that should be TikToking in terms of age, but I'm
You
figuring it
watch your mouth. You watch your mouth. I'm keeping my side part and my skinny jeans, and I'm going on TikTok. Deal with it,
I
whatever
love it.
generation you are.
I don't know, but anyway, stay tuned for next week and be safe.
And trust your gut.
See you next time.
Adios.